It's like trying to change a program from inside the program. Most people who discover law of attraction try to apply it from completely inside the avatar. They learn a technique, they try to feel better, they attempt to change their thoughts, and they do all of this from within the very identity that is creating the current experience. The player is the one who can step outside the program, not to escape it, but to see it clearly, to choose consciously, to interrupt the loop before it becomes a full downward spiral. And the player is activated by observation and a small shift in language. The most important shift is from I am to my avatar is experiencing. From I'm anxious to my avatar is experiencing anxiety right now. From I'm overwhelmed to my avatar is feeling overwhelmed. From I always do this to this is a pattern my avatar keeps experiencing. This grammatical shift is also an experiential shift. It moves you from being the pattern to seeing the pattern. And from that position, something becomes possible, a choice. You already know the player. You've done it. Every time you've caught yourself in a familiar pattern and thought, here I go again, that was the player. Every time you paused before reacting and felt something slightly different become available, that was the player. Every time you stepped back from a story you were telling yourself and saw it as a story rather than an absolute truth, that was the player. The player isn't something you need to build from scratch. It's something you already have and that you're going to learn to recognize and activate more deliberately. I want to give you a few images or metaphors for what the player's perspective actually looks like, because it helps to have more than one way of seeing it. And I think visually, I think in pictures, so it's easier for me to do it this way. Abraham Hicks speaks about the difference between being in the stream and standing on the bank. When you're in the stream, you're swept up in the current, pulled along by momentum of the pattern, the emotion, the story. When you're on the bank, you can see the stream clearly. You have perspective, you have choice. The avatar is the one in the stream. The player is the one on the bank. The second image comes from leadership development, and it's one I've used over many years in corporate work, and that is the balcony and the dance floor. Imagine you're at a dance. When you're on the dance floor, you're fully in action. You feel the music, you're moving, you're responding to what's immediately around you. But your view is limited to what's right in front of you. Now imagine stepping off the dance floor and walking up to the balcony. From there, you can see the whole room. You can see the patterns of movement. You can see where energy is gathering, where the collisions are happening, and what the dance actually looks like from above. The player walks up to the balcony, not to leave the dance permanently, but to see it. And then, with that wider perspective, with that wider view, to choose how to re-enter. Both of these images point to the same truth. You can be in the experience and simultaneously hold a wider perspective. That is done through detachment. That is the player's gift. So often when people hear the word detachment, they worry that it means becoming cold, disconnected, or distant from your life and the people in it. I want to offer you a different understanding and a different perspective, one that Caroline Myss articulates beautifully. Detachment in this context does not mean that you don't care. It means that you care deeply, but from an objective place, from the witness place. You're not numb to it. You are fully present with it, but you're not swept away by it. Think about the most grounded, wise person you know. When something difficult happens, they don't collapse into it. They don't become indifferent either. They stay present. They feel what's real. There's something steady in them that isn't consumed by the moment. Eckhart Tolle calls this the power of now, the power of being in the present moment. That steadiness is the player. That is what the witness perspective offers. And it allows you to be more present in your life, not less, because you're no longer afraid of being overwhelmed by what you feel and experience. So here's your invitation. Practice catching the moment, not in a vigilant or anxious way, not trying to be consciously on, Just begin to notice. Notice when you're fully in the stream, on the dance floor, swept up in the avatar's reaction, believing completely that the story or the experience is fixed and real. And notice when something in you briefly steps back, where there's a tiny moment of, wait, this is a pattern. Those moments are gold. They are the player waking up. It's like waking up from a dream or a nightmare. It feels so real, but it's not. This is how the game begins to shift.